You are a piano player and an organ player, and many people called you the Lord of the Hammond. What is a Hammond organ?
It's a miracle. Just briefly, the story of the Hammond organ is that an American gentleman, I believe in the 20s or 30s, somewhere around there, I'm not quite sure of my dates there, but he was a church member, and the church at which he worshipped was in need of an organ, but they couldn't afford to buy one of these big pipe organs. So Mr. Hammond, who was, I believe, a clockmaker by profession, he said, I will try and make one. So he made, what his idea was to make an electronic simulation of a church organ sound. And he did this by having these things called drawbars, those things that go in and out on the top of a Hammond. And the idea was that each one of these, the more you pulled it out, the louder it would be, but each one would be the sound, a different sound, like the different sounds on the pipes on an ordinary or a regular church organ. And he made the sound by, and the reason it's so unique as an organ, as a concept, is the way the sound is made. He made the sound is generated mechanically by little wheels that spin around very, very quickly and produce an electronic signal that is then converted into sound by the magic of the whatever goes on inside. That's as much as I know about it. But it created this wonderful sound. And if you want it to sound like a church organ, then of course it can. But then it found its way into jazz and into popular music, and then a couple of really great players discovered it. First of all, a guy called Wild Bill Davison, and then of course Jimmy Smith and Jimmy McGriff and so on. These great jazz musicians, blues jazz musicians, who discovered that it makes this really good sound for jazz. And then people of my generation, we discovered it, and I certainly discovered that it makes a very good sound for rock music too. So it's a very clever organ.
Compared to the piano, is the technique very different?
Yes. Yes. For example, without being able to show you, but to try and describe, if you hit a single note on a piano, just like this, bam, it will ring in the air, bam. If you do this with a Hammond, it goes bop, and it's just bop, So if you want to play legato is the correct, smoothly.
Yes.
On the piano, you could, by the way, you use your fingers, of course, but you also have a pedal which will sustain the sound for you. Whereas with the organ, you don't have a sustaining pedal, so you have to. It's a different way of fingering and a different way of playing. I must say that when I started playing the Hammond in the 60s, and it destroyed my piano technique. And then when I started playing the piano again more seriously in the 90s, in the mid-90s, I went back to the piano, and I discovered that my technique was compromised. So I had to work very hard to get my piano technique back. I now, I think, have a way of playing both without one hurting the other. So. But the techniques are, yes, very different.